Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to IOU's Insights and our episode on Mus'ab ibn Umair, the illustrious companion of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we said in our previous segment, his life changed with the acceptance of Islam. From being a rich, soft, cultured individual, perfumed, respected, he now was one wearing rags, who was looked down upon by the wealthy families of Quraysh. He was kicked out of his home, cut off, boycotted by his clan. But that didn't matter to him at all. He stuck with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, learning the religion till he became among the most knowledgeable of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when a group came from Medina to accept Islam in Mecca, because word had gotten to Medina. At that time, its name was Yathrib. That was the name of the city. Word had gotten to them that a prophet had come. And the people of Yathrib, the Arab tribes there, the Aus and the Khazraj, they were used to hearing stories from the Jews. The Jewish tribes there used to say to them that a prophet is coming. A prophet from our God. He's going to come. And he's going to lead us, and we are going to dominate you. We're going to rule you. You will become our servants and our slaves. So they were used to hearing this. So when word came to them that the prophet had appeared in Mecca, they quickly sent some of their emissaries. They said, listen, if this is going to be the prophet, we need to join him, so the Jews won't do to us what they plan to do. So they came to Mecca during the pilgrimage, because they had pilgrimage there to Mecca, but it was a pilgrimage of idolatry. Anyway, they met with the Prophet ﷺ. They heard his message and they accepted Islam, a handful. So going back to Medina, they asked the Prophet ﷺ to send somebody with them who would teach them Islam. So the Prophet ﷺ chose Mus'ab ibn Umair out of all the companions. He chose him and sent him back with them to Medina. And Mus'ab, there in Medina, he became the leading force in the spread of Islam in Medina. He talked to people. He had a cultured background. He came from a family which had given him, a softness in his approach. His language was very pure, strong. So he gave the da'wah very effectively, and people started to accept Islam one after the other. They were just coming in. He stayed with one of the companions there by the name of Sa'd ibn Zurara, and he stayed in his home. And Sa'd would just go out and gather people, bring them to the home, and he would give da'wah to them in the home. Eventually, word got to the heads of the Arab tribes there that this person was here spreading Islam, and this Islam was starting to affect families, where tension was developing between the members of the families who continued to be pagans and those who became Muslims. Differences were occurring. So some of them, another individual, also by the name of Sa'd, but his name was Sa'd ibn Mu'adh. He was very upset about this. He wanted to do something. He was one of the heads of the Khazraj there in Medina. And he and some of the other heads decided that they needed to rid themselves of this individual. They came to him, found him whilst he was in the middle of teaching, and wanted to kill him. He said, just have a seat, sit down, and listen to what I have to say. If what I have to say doesn't please you, it's not acceptable to you, I will pack up and I will leave. I will stop. I will leave from your midst. They said, okay, that's a fair offering. So they sat down, and after he recited Quran to them, because his recitation of the Quran was very melodious, very beautiful, touched the hearts, like the recitation of the Prophet ﷺ. And when he recited, then he explained Islam to them, they accepted Islam. And as the Arabs' custom was, whenever their chiefs accepted something or decided something, everybody else just fell in line. So once the word spread that these chieftains of the Aus and the Khazraj had accepted Islam, people just accepted Islam right after that. Till virtually, Islam was in virtually every home, and it became the majority in Medina, right? Amongst the Arabs, that is. So at this time now, this is within a year's time this happened. It's very rapid spread. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ spent 13 years in Mecca, calling people to Islam, and only 300 plus accepted Islam. The Quraysh were that stubborn, that, in opposition to such a degree, no matter how hard he tried, only 113. Mus'ab ibn Umair went to Medina, and virtually both major tribes just rolled into Islam. This is the qadr of Allah. Qadr of Allah. The point is that after this, within a year's time, such a large number accepted Islam, Mus'ab led a delegation back to Mecca to welcome the Prophet ﷺ to Medina, to invite him to come to Medina, where they would support him. And they made the pledge of allegiance to him, committing themselves, their lives, to sacrifice for him, to protect him. And shortly after that, Allah gave the command to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to emigrate to Medina. But one notable point there was that whilst Mus'ab ibn Umair was there in Medina, and the large numbers of people had come into Islam, in the initial stages they used to just pray in the enclosure in the home area of Sa'd ibn Zurara, who had hosted Mus'ab. The numbers now became so big it was not possible anymore. So Mus'ab ibn Umair asked permission for the Prophet ﷺ that they would have a major gathering on a weekly basis for all of the people to be able to pray together. And the Prophet ﷺ gave permission for the first Jum'ah in Islam. So Mus'ab ibn Umair, he initiated, with the permission of the Prophet ﷺ, and led the first Salatul Jum'ah in Islam, there in Medina. Mus'ab was not only a preacher or teacher of Islam, but he was also a very courageous and gallant warrior for Islam. He joined the battles of Badr. He was there. He was given the banner. Well, he carried one of the banners for the battle. And of course, one might think, okay, he's carrying the banner, he's not involved in the fighting. No, the one carrying the banner, he carries the banner in one hand, and he's carrying a sword in the other hand, because the banner represented the way by which the army would maneuver. You know, when the Prophet ﷺ gave the instruction to attack from the right, then the one with the banner is leading, the people would see that, and so he becomes like the guide for the military. So the enemy will focus on those carrying the banners. If we can knock them off, then they don't have any means to direct, so they can easily be conquered, right? Defeated. So it was a very crucial, position. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ chose Mus'ab and others. They had more than one carried the banners, right? Secondary banners, main banner. And after the battle, the prisoners tied up, brought back to Medina. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, of course, he had to decide what to do with the prisoners. He asked the companions, what was their idea, what was their thought. And one of the companions, he asked, Umar ibn al-Khattab. Umar said, each Muslim should take from the prisoners his relative, because they had brothers, uncles, cousins, right? From the Muslims of Mecca. So each one should take his relative and kill him, to show the complete break with disbelief, that the love or concern or attachment is gone. With their insistence on idolatry, wanting to fight for the idols, we're fighting for Allah. The bond is broken. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ heard it. Okay. He asked another companion. Another companion said, we should take them into this valley, right? Tie them up, leave them there, and set the valley on fire. Burn them up. Because of what they did to us in Mecca. How many of our brothers in faith, sisters in faith were murdered by these people? We'll show them. They made us suffer. Retaliation. It will put fear in their hearts. Think about it. Prophet ﷺ said, okay. And he went. He asked Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr said, well, these are our relatives. If we let them go, perhaps this will touch their hearts and bring them to Islam. So, why don't we ransom them and let them go, not kill them. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he accepted Abu Bakr's idea. So he instructed that those among them who could read and write could earn their freedom by teaching the Muslims of Medina to read and write. They got freedom. Those who had money, wealth, they could buy, their families back in Mecca could buy their freedom. And those ultimately who had neither this nor that, Prophet ﷺ let them go in the end. Now, when the prisoners were tied up, Mus'ab, the Prophet ﷺ had told him to take care of them, feed them properly, etc. Mus'ab ibn Umair walked by the prisoners and he saw his own brother there, tied up. So he told the guard, tie him tightly because his mother is wealthy. We can get more money for him. So his brother was shocked. He said, what are you saying to these people? You know, I'm your brother. And so he said, you're not my brother. These are my brothers. So this was Mus'ab ibn Umair's break. This is his stance. Family was finished. He'd given up family for Islam, as long as they stood in clear opposition. We are going to take another break in our episode on Mus'ab ibn Umair, and we'll be right back after a brief interlude. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.